Hello guys and welcome back to Valorant Curious. I am Joe for Gaming Curious and today I bring you another 10-hour practice video. This time around I decided to practice RAZE for these 10 hours. However, this didn't imply just playing for 10 straight hours Valorant with that agent in competitive or unrated, since I was aiming to actually improve on some specific scenarios with this agent, like some boombot setups or specific placements for it in order to clear out an entire part of the map reliably, and I even gave it a shot at some acrobatics with the satchel charges. So the methodology I followed for the 10-hour practice was that before I even thought of playing against players with RAZE, that is an agent that I usually played at the end of the day, if at all, in order to relax a bit since I have always enjoyed playing her. To me, she's a super fun agent to play with and even goof around a bit. And because of this, I had no clear idea of where to bounce the boombot at in order to get it where I wanted it to go. So the first thing I did was jump into a custom game with RAZE and just tried to learn and figure out the best ways to bounce the boombot in every map. And while doing this, I had in mind each scenario possible. Like if I was in a defense and was just trying to get info early on in the round, or if they had planted the spike on a specific site and I was playing retake of that site. And pretty much the same for the attack, figuring out the boombot spots for getting info while attacking a site or even defend a planted spike. And I also spent some time on perfecting my timing in order to stick a satchel charge to the boombot for whenever it may be necessary. And as with the boombot, I decided to try and find some common spots to throw the paint shell at, but I quickly realized that this was not really worth investing time in, practicing without any players in the field, since this skill is something that I used more in a reactive manner or in a specific situation, and in general it is not hard to land. And after that I decided to get familiar with the dynamics of the satchel charges and the pushback the ultimate has, because this is something I didn't really pay attention to on my past games while playing RAZE, and most of the times I misused the satchel charges and just ended up stalling in mid-air instead of getting some horizontal boost that was something I was aiming for. In total, while finding the boombot spots and the time I spent messing around with the satchel charges and the ultimate, I clocked in around 1.5 hours of practice without players, but that is really no good way of practicing RAZE since she doesn't have super complex setups and the satchel charge dynamics are not always used, so I decided that was enough for me to get into my first game against real players. My first game was an unrated one, and this was the second day ranked came out. My first game on Bind went pretty well, even if we lost it. It went overtime and I ended with over 20 kills, and the biggest mistakes I was making were that I was using way too soon the boombot and wasting the paint shell most of the time. And the biggest thing is that I was not using my ultimate as much as I should have. This is probably because I was not used to playing agents that have ults that get recharged quite fast as RAZE's ult. And for the purpose of this video I will be focusing on agent specific mistakes. So I will not really focus on my aim in general or map awareness or anything among those lines, that I will focus solely on what I can improve with RAZE. So here are some of the clips of that match. I played another 2 unrated matches just so I could really familiarize myself with RAZE while playing against other players, and in these 2 matches I kept making those mistakes, except for the ult that I was starting to use more, but still not really using it as much as I should have. After those 2 unrated matches, a friend joined me and I decided to play a quick spike rush game with him before finishing my competitive placement games. And to my surprise, Spike Rush is actually a really good place to learn new agents. Maybe not to its maximum potential, but at least to really understand their skills. This is because you get all your 3 basic skills filled at the start of every round, so you don't have to worry about your economy with them, and since all the players get the same gun as you are pushed into getting an advantage with either the orbs you get in Spike Rush or your agent's abilities. In the 10 hours I played, I probably played around 3 matches of Spike Rush, be it for a joining friend to warm up or just relax a bit from regular matches. And to be honest, I think I should have played a bit more of this in the beginning, because this few matches I played as Pack Rush really helped me understand how to really synergize the abilities within RAZE and give it to the max potential it could be. Be it definitely has some room for error, and also you may end up overusing some abilities in the future, but I really do think this is a great starting point. My first competitive match of the day was on Split. This time around I was feeling way more comfortable while playing RAZE, and this can be seen within the first round of this match, in which we were paired with Platinum players.
One enemy remaining.
And this match I did particularly good, and I was using my ult way more often than before. Even if I was not getting many kills with it, to me it is better to use it than just let it sit there for 3 to 4 rounds and not get anything done with it, when in that 3 to 4 round period of time I would be able to get it back again and just try to fish a kill with it. I kept playing competitive as a 5-stack with some friends, and I got placed at Platinum 2. And something I realized while playing with them is that I was being reckless with the sagittal charges when I used them for mobility, because sometimes I would forget they are behind me and damage them with the explosion. So that is something I didn't really realize until they told me about it. Not sure if I was not doing it before, or if the 4 random players I was paired with just didn't say anything about it. I really don't know, because I've seen the replays and it's hard to tell if I was hitting them or not. After placing Platinum 2, we were getting paired against better players than before, and I learned, or more than learned, realized that the paint shell really had some defensive possibilities, not just offensive, and what I mean by this is that the paint shell is a great way to deny a specific entrance in the map, for a relative short time, but it is one of the most effective ones, since it is really rare that someone will push through an exploding paint shell. And in that way you can prevent a re-pick and probably just get away with murder if you get a pick and just back off and throw a paint shell to the choke point and be able to reposition. And you don't even need to damage the enemies for this to be worth it. And that is something I have seen is a theme with RAZE. You don't really need to kill enemies with your utility for it to be effective. So it is a fine balance on either wasting your utility or not using it enough. But that is the case with many agents. However, with RAZE it's a bit accentuated, since it has some high kill potential and you are pretty eager on using it to get kills, so don't panic and don't overstress it. So to sum things up, within these 10 hours I learned quite a bit about RAZE. How the Boombot is such a great ability for getting information that will aid you clear a corner and get an advantage while picking an enemy you know its position. And the satchel charges are super good with many possibilities, be it to destroy Cypher's utility, get some mobility, or deal damage to an enemy, or your allies if you so desire. And her ultimate, the best way to describe it, would be as a way to get enemies out of your path without even shooting it, because most of the time, when they hear RAZE's prepping up her ult, most of the enemies will try to get out of the position they were at, and will most likely try to not engage RAZE. So it is a great piece of kit in order to play some mind games on the enemy. And before we finally wrap things up, a quick note on some things that I need to improve upon to really take advantage of RAZE, and it is to better bunny hop or to do it in a more consistent manner, and finishing to polish those Boombot spots, because I'm not hitting the place all the time. But as with everything, practice makes perfect, because even with this 10-hour practice run, it is definitely not enough to be great with RAZE or any agent in particular, so I need to practice her even more. However, I totally noticed an improvement and got to learn a lot with this prolonged practice session. So this is it for this video on my 10-hour run with RAZE. If you think I should have focused on something else, let us know in the comments below. And remember, if you ever try to do a prolonged session of practice, be sure to pay attention to your body, and if something begins to hurt more than it should, or any kind of pain, please do take a break. It is super important for you to not get hurt, because remember that no matter how good you ever get at a game or even whatever sport, your body and health is first, so please do take attention to that. and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our coming videos. This was Joe for Gaming Curious.